Okay, today we're going to talk energy in cells. So let's just make your heading energy in cells. Now, I'd like you to write down the word metabolism and the first bullet. Metabolism and the first bullet. Remember, if I'm going too fast, you can always pause. Metabolism, all of the activities of a cell that enable it to stay alive, grow, and reproduce. All of the activities of a cell that enable it to stay alive, grow, and reproduce. You've probably heard of it. Someone tell you, especially at your guys' age, most of you have what people call a high metabolism, which means your body burns tons of calories. Your cells need so much energy because you are growing, they're lengthening bones and building muscle, and there's that whole puberty thing maybe beginning. That takes a lot of energy. So a lot of you guys, I've seen you eat at lunch. Some of you eat like crazy and you're still crazy skinny, okay? Your body isn't putting it on as fat because you need those nutrients to stay alive, to grow, okay, to do all of your regular cell processes. So if someone tells you you have a high metabolism, that means basically you get bad gas mileage. When you compare your body to a car, you're getting bad gas mileage. You're burning a lot of fuel for doing very little. Okay, if you have a low metabolism, that means you don't need much fuel to do what you need to do for your cells to continue to do things. Now, most of us would like a high metabolism, which means we can eat as much as we want, whatever we want, and not get fat. But our cells aren't being very efficient in that. So metabolism is the energy your cells need. Don't worry about this. Don't write this. Living things are divided into two groups based on how they get their energy. This is probably old news for you. If you want to write it down, great. If you know this, don't worry about it. But producers make their own food using energy from the sun. Okay, in nature, there are things called producers that make their own food, and we call those plants. They need the sun, they need a little water, a little carbon dioxide, and they're going to make sugar. Those are called producers because they make their own food. We are consumers. If you want to, you can write this down. If you know it, don't worry. Consumers get energy by eating plants and other animals that have eaten plants. We are consumers. We cannot make our own food, so we basically need to steal sugar, steal it from plants. Okay, if you're going to eat an apple, you're stealing sugar from an apple tree. Or maybe you eat a hamburger, which means you're stealing sugar, stealing nutrients from a cow, which stole it from a plant, which made it from the sun. So we are consumers. We cannot make our own food. We need to steal it. I think you guys know what photosynthesis is about, so you don't need to write this. If you'd like to, go for it. Producers store energy from the sun in their chloroplasts. What I'd like you to do is write down the math problem at the bottom. So maybe say photosynthesis, and if you need to, write down photosynthesis, the word photosynthesis. And then write down the math problem. The math problem for photosynthesis at the bottom: light plus water plus carbon dioxide equals sugar and oxygen. So if I needed the recipe for photosynthesis, I would need some light, like the sun, need some water, and some carbon dioxide, and if I give all of that to my plant, it's going to make sugar, which it'll use for energy, and it'll give off oxygen. So that is the math problem for photosynthesis. And I think that's pretty good to know. By the way, when you see a word like glucose, glucose means sugar. Anything with "-ose" at the end usually means sugar. So glucose, sucrose, fructose, those are all types of sugar. And I think you guys know the whole food chain thing. The sun, plants get energy from the sun. Something eats the plant. Something eats the animal that eats the plant. We won't make too much about that. There's some other things I want to look at here. So, question for you here: How do we get energy from our sun, or how do we get energy from our food? There's this thing called cellular respiration. I would like you to write all this down. Cellular respiration. Oxygen is needed, produces lots of energy. So let's just say I just got done eating some breakfast. My body is going to break down, let's say it was breakfast pizza. Okay? My body is going to digest that breakfast pizza. It's going to break it down into simple sugars that my body can use. Anything that cannot be broken down, we'll get rid of when I go to the bathroom in several hours. But I have this simple sugar. Now my energy, or my cells, can't just use that the way it is. Okay? We are always taking in what? Right now I'm taking in oxygen. Okay? We're breathing in. We need oxygen to go through a chemical reaction to use sugar to make energy. So we have our sugar. If you remember from photosynthesis, a plant has sugar. Okay? We ate our sugar instead of made it, and we need oxygen to break that down into energy. That is cellular respiration. I would put down the bullet there. It takes place in the mitochondria. I would also write down the math problem for cellular respiration below there. So sugar, which is what I ate for breakfast, plus oxygen, which I'm currently breathing in, equals energy, which allows me to move and replace cells and grow and all that stuff. I'm breathing out, I'm exhaling carbon dioxide, and then also a little bit of water vapor. So that is kind of the math problem. Those are the ingredients, sugar and oxygen, to make energy. Now, if I take away either of those ingredients, I'm going to die, okay? If my body doesn't have sugar, so if I stop eating, I'm going to starve. Now, it'll take quite a long time, and my body has stored up sugar called fat, which it will break down. It'll break down some muscle if I stopped eating for a few weeks. Okay, my body would break down those things. So I would eventually die if I stopped taking in sugar. If I stopped taking in oxygen, I would die, and that would happen a lot sooner. We are always breathing. Okay, we've all tried to hold our breaths and see how long we can hold our breath. Okay, in just a matter of a few minutes, we would die without oxygen because we need that oxygen to break down sugar and make energy. So if your body does not have oxygen or sugar, you will die. Oxygen will happen a lot faster. Sugar will take a little longer. Now there's this thing called fermentation. And I'd write this down in the 2 bullets. No oxygen is needed, and it's going to produce some energy, but less. So a way of making energy is fermentation with no oxygen. Now, if I went up to the weight room right now and I got on the bench press and I just did the lightest weight, I just did the bar. The bar is 45 pounds. I can do that easily, okay? But if I did it 300 times, the first probably 50, I'm going to be able to do it really easily because my muscles have plenty of oxygen, okay? I've been resting, they have plenty of oxygen, okay? Well, the more reps I do, the more oxygen is going to be used up in my muscles, and I'm eventually going to have no oxygen left in my muscles. And that bar, I can still move it, but it's going to feel a lot heavier and I'm going to move it a lot slower. Okay? So what's happening is my fermentation is happening in my muscles. They are lacking oxygen, and I'm producing movement with the bar, but much less than normal. Go ahead and put those 2 bullets. This takes place in the cytoplasm, produces lactic acid. If you are ever sore after exercises, okay, after the first day of football practice or volleyball practice, you were probably sore. Well, lactic acid was being built up in your muscles. You probably weren't used to running as much as you normally did, or hitting people or whatever. And lactic acid fermented in your muscles. I would write this down. Both cell respiration and fermentation release energy from food. Both cellular respiration and fermentation are going to take your food and make it into energy. And both are going to produce carbon dioxide as a waste. Write this down. Both of them are going to produce carbon dioxide as a waste. And both occur in humans. I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, but it's a common science project. You take, well, you can do it many ways, but you can take water and like baking soda, and baking soda gives off a gas, and it'll blow up the balloon. Well, you can put yeast in warm water, and the yeast will give off a gas because it's fermenting, and it'll blow up the balloon. So what I need you to really know, okay, is the ingredients for photosynthesis. And I need you to know that only plants do photosynthesis. Cell respiration. Plants and animals do cell respiration. So photosynthesis is just plants. Cell respiration is plants and animals. Okay?